Hey everybody, taking a look at a skirmish match of Dragonshard between me and my brother Rudy. This is a one-on-one match that we played on land, and it's the last match we actually played each other. So I think we're both at our best. Good enough, I'd say, to declare this the 2015 Dragonshard 1v1 Championship. So let's jump in with the gameplay then. So I have decided to go with the Order of the Flame faction. Order of the Flame being the generic good guys of the game. It's a combination of all the good races, human, elves, dwarves, and they're actually an arm of the Silver Flame in Eberron. But, you know, lore has no place in a skirmish match. So anyway, I begin the game with Lady Marin as my chosen commander. You get to choose one of 4 commanders in this game. The commanders are a set level, they don't level up. The 4 commanders each serve a different role. Lady Marin, she kind of is a frontline tank slash healer. She's really powerful, good at absorbing damage. Her special power-up ability is Mass Heal, and the way that power-up ability works is after she does a certain amount of damage to enemy units, she can then activate the ability. Her Mass Heal just heals everyone on the map for about 250 health, which is about half the health bar of most units. So then as soon as the game starts, I quickly make 3 structures for 3 different captain types. Captain types I go for the Paladin, which serves as your melee tank, the Rogue structure, so I can have a rogue to bring with me, which is great at disarming traps, doing some solid damage, and then I go with the structure that lets me get access to clerics. And clerics are really useful as the backline healer. They're a ranged unit in this game, even though a lot of times in Dungeons & Dragons, you know, your clerics are upfront melee. Only ranged clerics exist in Dragonshard. So immediately from the start, I send my champion and the 2 initial units I build to go gather some Dragon Shards. Now the Dragon Shards are one of the 2 resources in this game. They are accessible on the top level of the map. Now if you see in the bottom left corner, there are actually 2 mini-maps. Anyone who's used to RTSs, you know, there's usually only one. What's going on? This is crazy. The very far left one is the overworld. And that's where all the army creation takes place. You know, your big battles between 2 players are most likely going to occur on the overworld. And that's where all the Dragon Shards are accessible. The Dragon Shards are represented as those blue crystals on the minimap. Dragon Shards are a replenishable resource that starts with only a couple locations at the beginning of the game. So there's about 4 of them currently at the moment, and they're pretty important to grab and snatch up because they eventually are replaced, but kind of randomly whenever the game decides there's going to be a Dragon Shard storm. And, you know, just briefly before when I was on the overworld map, you could see it happening. It's, Dragon Shards will rain down, they'll randomly land across the map, and then you need to rush there, because it's gonna, you know, you or the other player, they're gonna have to get those Dragon Shards. It's the only time it refreshes. Now, the right mini-map is Kyber, and the Kyber serves as the kind of like dungeon questing area of the game, and that's where I'm at right now. Throughout Kyber, there's going to be gold chests scattered. These chests are often guarded by creatures, random creatures depending on the map. If you can see on the map, there are different little icons on the right side, on the right mini-map for gold. Some are larger, some are smaller. The size of the icon directly correlates to the amount of gold in the chest. Generally, the larger icons are going to be guarded by very tough creatures. The small ones are going to be guarded by weaker creatures, sometimes even unguarded. The other important thing is a lot of the chests are locked. And the main reason I always go for a rogue early is the rogue is the only unit in the game that can lockpick. Now, I quickly bring up the king screen right here, and the king screen is where you manage the levels of your captains. So as you kill neutral units, enemy players' units, you get a 3rd resource, which is XP. If you see there on the bottom, it's the far left one. So XP then you can use on your king screen. So if you saw there were a couple lit up unit portraits. Those are the 3 units that I have access to, the cleric, the rogue, and the paladin. From there, you can choose to level those up to a maximum level of 5. Right now, I chose to level up my rogue to 2 because those chests that can be unlocked that I was talking about earlier, they have different requirements. So you might come across a chest that's only level 1, so, you know, a straight out of the base rogue can unlock it. but a lot of them are 2 through 5, so the higher level rogue, the more chests you can access. So the higher level the rogue, the more gold you have access to, and gold is a pretty important resource, one of the main two. One thing that is important to note in this game, though, there's no units that require just one resource. Everything requires both dragon shards and gold. So you can't go with a heavy gold strategy and max only the gold requiring unit, because you need a combination of both. So you need to pay attention to the overworld and the underworld at all times. So right now in the game, I'm just running around killing monsters. I haven't encountered Rudy at all, which generally in the pretty decent amount of games we've played, it's how it kind of goes early on. Maybe you'll encounter them at the dragon shards initially, but then after that, everyone has their own entrance to Kyber. If you see on the map the green squares, those are the Kyber entrances. There's always one around your spawn. On a 2-person map, there's 2. On a 4-person map, there's 4. So everyone generally gets one. They access Kyber from a different location. You don't really encounter each other unless you go out of your way to try and rush them, or mess with their questing. So I'm just running around here questing. I'm gradually building my army. If you see on the right, there's a little satchel, and under that there are some scrolls. I've collected a couple scrolls that monsters that I've killed have dropped, and that's pretty frequent. Monsters will drop a bunch of different items. Some are items that you use, one time only. Other items are reusable, like you'll get certain staffs that maybe you can take command over enemy units. I used one earlier that summoned that Minotaur that's fighting with me, and it's really important to try and collect as many items as you can, because they can really turn the favor of a fight for you. So right now, fighting some tougher monsters. It's a Freet. It summons some little lava guys, but they're no problem for me. I'm really taking the time here to carefully micromanage my units, bring my paladin that is taking a lot of damage to the back so that the enemy AI can refocus and choose another target. Just doing whatever I can to preserve my guys. And if you see on the far right of the screen, the red box there, that's my rogue detecting a trap, which is the other really important functions rogues serve in Kyber. Traps are extremely deadly. They can wipe out your whole units, and if you don't have a rogue, you can't detect them. So I always kind of made it a priority to go for rogues so I can have a much easier time in Kyber, and it really works out for me right here, as we're able to detect the trap and get access to those chests that normally would cost a little bit of life, or maybe even some soldiers to get to. So my general strategy this game that I've really adapted is having probably my main force, my commander, under in Kyber, questing, getting as much items, gold as possible, experience as well, really important. And on the overworld, having maybe 1-2 units running around collecting dragon shards as they're spawned. So here's my paladin, constantly checking. Whenever it rains, goes to the dragon shard location. That's his job. If Rudy comes over with a big force, I run away. I ignore him, because I know he's doing the same thing. He's collecting dragon shards as well. My main force doing a good job, cleaning up, getting a lot of XP. As you see, I've also added a 4th unit, which is, I'm currently building a couple of them in my base. That is the Flame Archon. Actually, I haven't built any yet, but I am upgrading them. The Flame Archon is a flying unit. Flying units are restricted to the overworld only. They can't go to Kyber, they can't help quest. But they do have the advantage of being only targetable by ranged units. So Paladin, like melee units like my Paladin, not going to be useful against the Flame Archon. I'm building that up kind of as a main force on the overworld with my commander and her handful of units quest. At this point, I still haven't run into Rudy. Not really sure how he's doing, but I know things are going well for myself. My Archons, I'm leveling them up, and I'm doing pretty well on resources at this point. I have about 400 Dragon Shards, which are the tougher resource to get, the one that limits you more. Every unit costs about between 50 and 100 of Dragon Shards and gold, so I have about 4 units worth of Dragon Shards. Along with that, my captains are all level 2, and I'm spending any XP I get to level up my Flame Archons even higher. And at this point, actually, Rudy did mention he got all tabbed out, so the game is slowing down. But, whatever. Just a couple problems at the World Championships. We're not the highest budget. Not many watchers with this game, but it's cool. We'll deal with it. There we go. Back to full speed. Again, going to my paladin on the overworld, looking for Dragonshards, but kind of completely out of them. Not many Dragonshards left. A little more slowdown, not a big deal. At this point, I'm really just massing up my Flame Archon army. They're going to be the key to hopefully win the game and get into, if I get into a battle for days. You see there, now I finally show them. I have 3 of them. Another thing is you level up your units. Every level past 1, they'll start spawning a soldier to guide them, or to follow them around. So my Flame Archons are flying. They're guys on birds. They also have a couple like eagle-looking birds that follow them around and shoot flames as well. They function kind of as extra damage, and they will never. When you have a soldier, your captain will never die. So the soldiers all die first. When all your soldiers are dead, then your Flame Archon or your whatever captain it is can actually die. So right now I'm feeling pretty confident about my units. I have a couple of decent items on the right there. I haven't really lost anything in Kyber. The clerics do a great job of healing. You also have the ability to rest, as I'm doing right here. When you're in Kyber, you can choose to rest, which will put your characters to sleep, and they'll be unable to do anything until they regain all of their health, or until you cancel it. This is great to quickly regenerate health, but when they're resting, if they do get attacked, they take bonus damage for the first hit. So, you know, just like in Dungeons & Dragons, if you're in a safe spot, rest. You know, if you need to gain back your health. You know, it's a little bit of a risk-reward type situation. Another thing, as you see here, I'm going for this dragon-looking statue. That's a place of power. On the map, there are a couple of these. I believe on this map, there are 3. So they're the purple markers on the map. There's 1 on the overworld on the left, and 2 on the overworld in Kyber. 1 in the north, 1 in the south. The places of power kind of they function as important side objectives. The player who's in control of them gets a different buff depending on what actual place of power it is. So, for example, that's like a dragon shrine, so it gives me resistance to fire damage. The other option is you can choose to have the places of power serve as a victory objective, so that the player who has, I believe, at least half of them, they can actually start a timer as a countdown to victory. They're pretty important. They can give you some massive buffs that will easily turn the tide of a battle. At this point in the game, Rudy, again, I don't think I've really even seen his army. So very, very passive game. We're mostly just doing our own thing. I'm building up my Flame Archon army, and I'm moving it towards his base because I'm tired of waiting. And I'm actually pretty happy with those Flame Archons. We found through a lot of playing, they're pretty good units. And there's Rudy's base, and there's his army, which he was also building up. He did not expect this attack, though. And my army, much larger than his, and taking it out. I believe at this point he is yelling at me, screaming for mercy. I'm saying no. Why would I give you mercy? Yeah. Pretty convincing here as my Flame Archons wipe through everything he has. And that's gonna be pretty much it. So kind of anticlimactic. One battle that I just run through. But Rudy actually let me know that he lost a massive force in Kyber by running into traps. So always bring your rogues. And that is it for the game. So till next year, I'll be waiting for you, Ray.